The crazy thing is, Kalkidan, with you, like in my head, I didn't even think about questions because I was like, oh, Kalkidan, she knows how to do this. Like, she knows what.
Hey guys, welcome back. We have our third video and we have Kalkidan here. She's just gonna tell us a bit about herself, her story.
My name is Kalkidan Temeskin, and I was adopted when I was 7. I was adopted through All God's Children, but I grew up in Gojam, which is like northern Ethiopia, and I was there for most of my life. And then I came to Addis when I was like 5, 6, like a year before I was put up for adoption. I grew up in the village when I was in Gojam, and it was a very simple life. It was honestly very good memories. Like I didn't have much, but I had like everything. I had my family. It was just very simple. Like I didn't know what day, time, year. I just woke up every day and like I remember herding animals. I remember like picking up sticks, picking up like cow dung, like just different things like that. And then we moved to the city and my mom was pregnant with my little sister and she got really, really sick. Everyone kind of was thinking that she was gonna die because I very vividly remember her like throwing up blood, like she was really sick. Like my mom had us when she was young, and they were like, there's this young lady and she has 2 kids. She has like no family. Like, what are we gonna do? Because they thought she was gonna die, and so they were like trying to figure it out. And I guess they like the neighbors kind of came up with a plan behind my mom's back, and this plumber offered them money, and they told my mom that she could send us to the orphanage, but she didn't know it was an orphanage as like a respite center until she like gets back on her feet and finds a job. My mom is also like illiterate and has never been to school, can't read, can't write. She's from the village. So she didn't even know what the word adoption is or that that's even a thing. Like she didn't know or understand. I went to the orphanage with my little sister. And I remember my mom having a conversation with me, and she would visit us weekly. And every week she would literally like, I remember it like she would talk to me, tell me like what's going on in her life, her like trying to find jobs, like what she's doing. She would check on me. And I remember like the last couple times she seemed really sad and really down, but she wouldn't tell me like what was going on. And I remember the last time like she was crying a lot and she basically was telling me like, Halkadan, like you're gonna go to America, like you're gonna go for schooling, you'll visit me, like you'll come and see me, I'll see you. I was really sad, but the way America was portrayed, so I was like, I'm gonna get an education, like I'll be able to help my mom, like da 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 da. This is what I have to do. So I literally like would feel guilty about this because I did agree. I was like, yeah, like I'll do it, like I'll do it. I'll go to America. The next like week or two when she came back, that was when I had been adopted and was with my white family and my mom. And the last time I seen her was me basically saying bye to her. And that was me coming to America. So like the next week I seen her, it was that was that and I left and I never seen my mom. I didn't really understand what was going on and like the whole concept of it. And so then I came to America in 2008 and I remember saying this. I grew up in the village, so I remember like when I went to the airport, there would be like the automatic doors and I literally thought it was like a monster's mouth opening up because I never seen anything like that. I remember seeing skyscrapers. I'd never like just so much the escalators. I never seen anything. Everything was just a shock to me. I didn't understand anything. And I came here and basically like my adoptive parents were like, "Oh, we're your parents, da 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 da." Everything was a shock. And over time I was like, "Where's like my mom? Like, is she gonna come visit?" And they would look at me like, "What are you talking about? Like, where your mom? Where your dad?" And I was like, "What? No, like, where's my mom? Like, my mom said she's gonna visit me." And I remember one time specifically, like they looked at each other confused and they sat me down and they were like, "Sweetie, like your mom is most likely dead. That's why she put you up for adoption. Like she was sick. She's most likely dead." And I was just like, So I stopped asking after a bit because it would just be the same answer, like, Kalkidan, your mom's dead, your mom's dead, your mom's dead. So I just stopped asking. Deep down, like, I just knew that wasn't the truth and that like my mom wasn't dead. Like I just knew. I knew and I don't know. I wasn't a bad kid, but I wasn't able to be myself. Like I remember going to sleep at night and like trying to say words in a park so I wouldn't forget it. There would just be things that would be slipping my mind over time, and I would try so hard to like not forget it. After fifth grade, I was homeschooled for middle school, and those were like really hard times for me because the only people I had around me were my adoptive siblings, and my little sister is adopted with me, but her and I have very different stories. I knew like this wasn't adding up. My adoptive parents just like, I couldn't put my words on it, but they would just treat me differently. I remember like as a kid trying to rationalize because I would always be in trouble. I would always be grounded. And so I literally would try to rationalize like why my adoptive parents were acting like this. And then I got homeschooled, and my adoptive mom is my teacher, so I'm around them 24/7. I don't have access to anybody or anything in the outside world. And it was just really dark years, like really dark years. And then after being homeschooled, I went to high school because I was acting out purposely, honestly. I did not want to be with them. And they put me to a public school, Oregon City High School. And in Oregon, that's like one of the biggest high schools here. It's like a college, it's huge. And so I went from having only like my siblings to this big school where I was seeing drugs, sex, kids, all this stuff. And I felt like I didn't know anything compared to all these people. Like I didn't understand. Again, I tried to assimilate and tried to like, fit in with everybody there. Like I was doing drugs, but secretly. Oh, and the other thing I forgot to mention is when I went to Oregon City High School, my parents said I was a bad kid and they put me in JROTC, which is like a military like boot camp. I don't know how to explain it. It's like ROTC, but for juniors. I was like doing push-ups, running with backpacks, like doing march, all this crazy stuff. And I just like it was punishment, like it was horrible. This sounds so crazy, but when you get to a point where like you have nobody, like you have nothing, like you really feel like you don't have a soul, nothing to live for in this world. I remember I like planned to get a ticket from the Greyhound bus and just go as far away as I can, and I didn't care, like I did not care. So this just slowly started because I was kind of dating this guy who was no good for me, but I didn't know what love was or anything. No one, like, I didn't have a healthy way of knowing what love was. And so I just was like, I was yearning for someone to love me. So the first person that showed me any kind of attention or liked me, I just attached to. I remember telling him, like, I'm gonna run away. Like, I'm gonna run away. I can't do this. And he was like, what? No, like, you can't run away. I was like, I am. And he was like, no, like at least stay with by my town. And so he didn't love me because I ran away, but I was sleeping in a park bench in his hometown while he is in his home. And it's the middle of winter, like just perfectly fine. And I remember like being so cold at night. It was one of the worst things because I didn't sleep the whole night. I heard like people fighting next door, like in a domestic violence situation. And I was just like praying to God the whole night. And then I wake up the next day and it's a park, like a public park. And these kids are just like, going to the park playing, and everyone's like confused because they see this little girl in the park. This mom is like looking at me like just weird. Come to find out she called the cops because she could tell like, why is this little girl like asleep, freezing in the middle of winter in a park? And so the cops come. And I remember also that night, that was the first time I ran away. My adoptive parents asked me, "Where are you?" I had like a little flip phone, and they were like, "Where are you?" And I said, "I'm not coming home." And they're like, "Where are you?" I said, "I'm outside, like sleeping in a park." And they're like, "No, you're not." Like they didn't believe me. So I was like, "Bet, like I'm not coming home now." Like I just remember them being like, "No," like they didn't believe that was happening. And so then the next day, the cops came and they arrested me, and I went to juvie because my adoptive parents had put like a missing person report. I got picked up I go home after juvie and my room is stripped. My like I go home, my adoptive parents pick me up and they have my whole room stripped, everything taken down. I just have a mattress on the ground and 5 pairs of clothes on the ground and the doors taken away, everything is just stripped and that I was in trouble and that was that. So at that point I was like, well, now I really have nothing to lose. Like what else can they take? So it just became like a habit of me running away. It would be times where like it would just we would be fighting and I did not want to go home. Like I did not. And so like I remember one time I ran away again and I went to my community college. I stayed there until like the very, very last minute. And then as everyone was like leaving, I like went into the bathrooms and like stayed and they locked it all up. And then I realized that everything was locked up. It was late at night and no one was there. And so I packed an overnight bag and everything. I was so young, like I was like 14, like not thinking clearly. And so I packed everything. I was sleeping in a couch, like at least I'm inside this time. I felt freeing just not being in that toxic home. And I wasn't thinking of what was happening. And then the next day, it was really early and I hear someone, like some guy just vacuuming, and it was like the cleaners, they were vacuuming, and I got so scared I ran and went to the bathroom. And then I like was like, okay, I have to leave. Like I have to leave. I have to leave. So I went to go leave, and the guy sees me and he was like, "What are you doing here?" And I like made up a lie. I was like, I came because like I left something from yesterday and like I needed to get it." And he looks at me and he was like, "I need you to come with me." I was like, "Why?" He was like, "It's 6 in the morning. This doesn't open till like 8. No one is allowed here. No one, the doors are locked. Like, how'd you get in?" And I was like, I don't know. And then as he's cleaning, he sees all my stuff that's spread out from the night before. And so he connected the dots. And there we go again. Called the cops, da 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 da, went to juvie. And I remember that one time, I was like, one of the last times my adoptive mom basically was like, "Oh, you can let her stay, like let her stay so she learns her lesson." So I stayed in juvie for like the whole day, and I remember just being miserable. Just first of all, you don't have your clothes. It's like a metal bench, and I'm just crying myself to sleep. And they kept asking me like, "Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this?" And I tried to tell them like my family, like they're abusive, like I'm adopted, X, Y, and Z. Then my adopted parents come and my adopted mom's a social worker and she was just like, "I'm a social worker, I work with all very troubled kids, X, Y, and Z." Like she just is like, she has this, she's going through this, like we've done everything to help her, like and nothing works, da 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 da. So then they just like looked at me. I literally felt like nothing was working. Nothing was working. It was like my last final straw. Oh, that day, basically, I come home and my adoptive mom allowed every person in my family to come in individually and basically say like how I was ruining this family, how I'm just a horrible person, just anything they felt like saying. Each person, my mom came and said it, my dad came, like every person one by one would say it. And then it got to my adopted parents have one sibling or one of my siblings that's theirs. That kid came and like he was like, "Look at me." And he's younger than me. I was like looking, just crying my head down. And he said, like, "Look at me." And I'm still sassy. So I was like, I didn't say it, but I didn't look because who are you? Like, you're younger than me. I'm not going to look at you. So he's like, "Look at me." And I didn't say nothing. And there was like a Nerf gun in the hallway and he jammed the fucking like Nerf gun in my head like really hard. And he's like, "I said, look at me." I just like snapped. I snapped. And so I was like, "What the fuck? Like, get out of my room, shut it." And then my mom got mad at me and it was a whole thing. That was like my last straw. Like, I don't know what it was, but that was just my last straw. So I literally looked up DHS and called DHS and told them like I'm being abused, X, Y, and Z. A couple days later, a social worker comes to our home, and I remember like my adopted mom just like her piercing look, like, "How dare you fucking call them?" Like she was so mad, and I was like so scared because I was like, "Oh my God, oh my God." And they sat us down, and my whole family is just like in disgust, like, "You did not do this." And I'm so scared. It's like everyone against me. So I'm like trying to tell them my story. The social worker, I guess, very quickly realized I was the issue, even though I'm not the issue, and nothing really happened out of it. They just were like, "Okay." And they pulled us one by one and like talked to us. I like at this point, whenever I would go to school, I had one friend who's black and I would tell her everything. Like I would literally cry I would tell her every little thing, and I'll be like, I hate, like, I'm gonna run away. Like, I can't do this. I can't do this because it was summertime was coming up. I was like, I genuinely cannot do this. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, I need to do something so I can stay in juvie because I'd rather be in juvie. Like, it's just getting worse and worse. I guess she would go home and tell her parents, like, Zora, like, my friend, like, her family, da 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 da. Like, she would cry. I didn't even know. The second to last day of school, I'd gone home because I started not caring. Like they've taken everything, da da da. So I would just come home really late so I didn't have to deal with them. And so one day I came home and my adoptive mom, I remember her like cutting food in the kitchen and we got into a fight. She's like, "Where are you? Like you don't care, da 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 da." And I literally like this was something I always wanted to say, but I never said because I was scared. And I was like cutting it and I was like, "You're not even my mom. Like what the like what is wrong with you?" And she looked at me like I always wanted to say that. She looked at me and she was like, "Do you mean that?" I was like, "Yeah, I mean that. Like, you're not my mom." She's like, "So you don't want to be a part of this family?" I was like, "I don't care." Like, da 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 da. She was like, "Okay, okay." And that was that. So then the next day, it was the last fucking day of school. My friend had written on like an index card her parents' information, their names, all this, like their phone number. And she was like, "My parents wanted me to give this to you. They said if you ever need anything, because it's about to be summer, like if you ever need anything, call us, like we'll help." And so I was like, okay. I go home, it's the last day of school. I go home, no one is home. I'm like, where is everybody? And then my dad comes, he was like out in the garden, find him, and I'm like, where is everybody? He's like, "Oh, they went on a family trip." And I was like, "What? Like without me?" He said, you said you didn't want to be a part of the family." Like the next day, like 24 hours, they go on a family trip without me. He's like, "You said you didn't want to be a part of the family." So I was like, "All right, bet." So I go upstairs, pack all my stuff. I go next door and I call and I'm like, "Yeah, like, can you pick me up? Like, I can't do this." And they're like, "Yeah, on our way." And they didn't really ask any questions. I didn't have shoes on, nothing. I just walked and they picked me up from the side of the road and I was like I explained to them what happened. I was like, I got in a fight with my adoptive mom. I told her like she's not my mom and she asked if I wanted to be a part of the family and I was like, I don't care. They went on a trip without me, like excluded me and all this stuff. So then they were like, "Yeah, you can stay with us." I would literally have nightmares and cry to them. I'm like, I don't want to go back. Like I don't want to, I can't go back. I can't go back. Just over time I would tell them stories and stuff and they realized like how bad it was basically. I mean, you're not allowed to legally rehome. I didn't know like this was why they didn't go to the court, but like if you're adopted, you can't just send someone to someone else. So my adoptive family, because my mom's a social worker, she knows what she's doing. They came up with a plan, I guess, with my friend's family without getting the courts involved and like just relinquish their rights so it wouldn't like instead of getting the courts involved and whatnot and they allowed me to stay there until I was 18. Even to this day, this was what 2016, almost 9 years ago. I still haven't had contact with my biological sister. They won't let me talk to her. I lived with them till I was 18 and my sophomore year of high school when I was living with them. Yeah, I was on Facebook and I wasn't around any adoptees or anything and I was just very depressed and like suicidal because I didn't have anybody. I lost my family and it felt like I was adopted and then readopted basically. It was another family. It was just a lot going on. And so I posted on Facebook like, "Hi, I don't have anybody. Like I'm really like at my wit's end. I just want to know if there are other adoptees." And a bunch of people replied under that post and they were like, "Oh my gosh, there's this camp for Ethiopian adoptees in Oregon, like you can come to it." And I didn't really know, so I just like went to it one summer. I was like 15 at this time. And I met like hundreds of other adoptees that literally looked like me. Like it was insane. Literally like it was just insane. I was like a counselor that summer, and I remember the first like couple nights crying myself to sleep because I had no idea that there were other people that were literally like me in this world, and it was just insane to me. And then after that camp, I really started like just wanting to know more and learn more. That sophomore year, I remember this vividly. I just gone to school and I was gonna go to the homecoming game and I was just sitting, watching TV and I get a message from my adoptive parents. This was the first time they contacted me since I left. And they were like, "Hey, thought you'd want to see this." I didn't really think anything of it. And I open a link and it's literally like face of me from the orphanage with my little sister. It was like a missing person and they were like looking for this person, all my information, where I was adopted, what year, everything. I didn't tell anyone. Like, I just remember my heart dropped, but I didn't tell anyone about it. And I remember at nighttime, I would just keep looking at it. And then eventually one day I messaged them and I'm like, yeah, like, that's me. Here's my name, my number. That's me and my sister. They got back to me. One thing led to another. And I was able to find out that my biological mom was alive. And that was like my first initial time realizing like my mom is here. Like she's been looking for me all these years. I couldn't sleep. Like I would literally just be obsessive about like wanting to know everything around this. It was like a blessing and a curse though, because I was by myself. I didn't have any money, anybody, or anything. And I was talking to one of my friend's mom about this. I told her, I was like, I found my mom. I know she's out here and I think about her every day, but like, I can't visit her. I don't have the resources to do this. And so she was like, I will help you. Like, you'll see your mom, you'll see your mom. And so she made like a GoFundMe because at this point I was very talkative about my dog. I just wanted to more people to know and talk. And so she made like a GoFundMe and talked about my story. And people donated to my GoFundMe. And then I went and I visited my mom. Before I went to visit my mom, I actually like got really sick because I had trauma and like PTSD stored and like my body. Like this was my first time going to visit my mom. I was literally hospitalized and I had to get like liquids and like it was just really bad. And then when I went on the plane, I was throwing up constantly. I couldn't sleep. It was really bad. And then I saw my mom and that was really emotional. Then that was when I basically found out my story and that everything what I was told was a lie. And my mom had been like searching for me all these years and was like in pain and going through just as much pain as me. And people thought she was crazy and there's just a lot going on, just like me. I found out that my dad was alive, and that was something that I thought he was dead my whole entire life because that's what I was told. And I got to meet my dad too that day. Found out I had siblings. It was just overwhelming. Like it was a lot. Like I found out a lot. I came back after that trip really angry. Like I was very happy, but I was really angry because it was just years that were taken away from me and just everything was a lie and falsified. And I confronted my adoptive parents about it. And I was like, my mom is alive. You guys told me she was dead for years. She was alive looking for me. And I told them like I want to start looking for people from my orphanage. And I guess they knew where all my friends were from the orphanage and where they were adopted this whole time. And they kept it a secret. They were like, oh yeah, like one of them lives here, one of them lives here. And I was like, you never told me this. Like now you're telling me. And then I just started finding out a lot of information and I was very angry. So I made a TikTok. I was just pissed off and I was like, people need to know about this. And boom, it started spreading and whatnot. The community started hearing about it. People knew who my adopted parents were. At this time, like I would make a lot of TikToks and I guess like people were starting to realize that my adopted parents weren't this perfect image that they tried to portray. And no one even knew, but the time that I went to see my mom, I was living in a garage. No one knew nothing. And so my adoptive parents, they'd seen that I was living in a garage and they were like, what would you want? Like, if you had a perfect world, like the whole lightsaber, if you had a perfect world, like, what would you want? And I was like, I don't want much. I watch my peers just go on in life. They're going to college, they're doing this. And I've just been working full time my whole life. Like, I'm not progressing. I feel like I'm stagnant. And then just like that, like, they just came in one day and bought me an apartment, offered to pay for my school. I never asked, never nothing. They just did it because I guess like I was making my TikToks and people were realizing like they live in a condo that's all glass with their own personal elevator in their house. Like it's just insane. And then you have a daughter that's literally sleeping in a garage and you kicked her out at 15. And so they just came and did this one day. And like, yes, it was amazing, but it was also just like I couldn't help but be angry. Like, you can do this, and you've just been watching me suffer in silence all these years when I was 15, 16, 17, 18, when the years you were supposed to take care of me. And like, it was just insane in my mind. And I told these people this, like, I'm not afraid to say it, but in my mind, like, I feel like those were my rights. Like, what is it called when reparations for being 15, 16, like the years where you didn't pay a dime, like nothing. So I took advantage of that because that's the least they could do. But I went to school. At the same time, I was not going to let anyone silence me again. Like I made a promise to myself. I refuse to like not live in my truth. They cannot silence me. I mean, like I'm still speaking out. Like I would be in panels talking about it, and they would like they did not like that. So slowly they would like push me away. And one day they wrote like, you have to move out by March, which is not the truth. Like I had like a whole thing of an agreement, like a piece of paper. But I was like not fighting it. I was like, I don't care. So I moved out this last March. I'm in no contact with them. They were using financial stability as like a way to control me, have access, and not let me tell my story. And I refused. Like, there's no money in the world that can do that. So I refused. And now here I am, just like, yeah. So that's a quick rundown of my life story. Yeah.
This makes me mad.
It's just it. Yeah, I'm sorry. Like
No, it's okay.
it's like suffering, but like preventable suffering, right? Like I think,
Exactly. Because it was my adopted mom was abusive, X, Y, and Z, and my dad was complicit. I just have as much anger because he watched it happen and didn't do nothing and say nothing. I was talking to one of my friends who has a very similar story to me. The thing about my adopted mom that I didn't understand, felt like she was jealous of me or didn't want my life to be like to prosper. Like I didn't understand it. But I'm just a kid, and she would do anything to like put me down, whether that was cut my hair disgusting, make me dress like a boy in the worst clothes. I don't know. There was just a hate and an animosity for who I was. It's really crazy.
yeah,
I think that's really common, sadly. I hear
Yeah,
a lot of
exactly.
really negative stories about the mom, the adoptive mom specifically, with
Mm-hmm.
the girls.
but when I talk to other adoptees, the experience with the moms, it's very damaging to have like
Mm-hmm.
a mom who doesn't.
Who doesn't love you and exactly like it's just so damaging as a kid to not have that parental love and support and nurture and like want you to do good, you know? So
And like unconditional love. Like a lot of
exactly.
these adoptive people, they use, or adoptive parents use love as like, well, they were loved. Well, I love them. But it's like,
Right.
what does love mean to you? Because that's
Yeah.
not just a word. And it's like, oh, they were a bad kid, so you gave up. Then that's not unconditional love.
Exactly, exactly. And it's like we gave you food, a place to stay, this, that. Those are the basics. Like that's what you're supposed to do as a parent. What do you mean? They always use that. I'm just so glad that we're all getting older and our stories are being told because I genuinely thought I was crazy. And
Yeah.
we
Mm.
all have the same feelings that we went through and similar, like it's insane.
Yeah, like, and Kalkidan, I was wondering, like, when you were, in these moments, like, how did you keep going?
I get asked this a lot actually. Um, I don't know, like, I mean, I feel like a lot of adoptees can relate to those like lonely nights and like breakdowns and just like I had a lot of those like behind closed doors because I often seem like la la la, but like behind closed doors, I was honestly a very, very, very depressed kid. And I can't even explain it, but there was something in me that like knew like not necessarily there were other people, but I was like like this story has to be told. Like this story will people will know about this. When I found like other adoptees when I was 15, that was when I really realized. And it would just be like certain I don't know, I'm a very empathetical person, so I really like would like relate to other people, whether it's in history or just reading and writing where like they went through crazy stuff. And I would just always be like, well, if they can do it, like, like I can do it, like I can do it, and just push through. And then it was like after I made my TikTok and I found out a bazillion people that really like was like a spark in me.
Yeah, well, like,
So
yeah, it seems like you had like an inner fire or something.
yeah, like a spark. Like I was very depressed, but after I found my story, and I think there's I get power and like it's healing almost for me to tell my story and to like validate I'm not crazy and just like like the more I go forwards, it's almost like the more I heal myself from backwards. I don't know how to explain it, but I get like I start understanding myself more and just heal little parts of me. Like I had a lot of anger at my adoptive parents because I was like I will see a 15-year-old and that's literally a child, like a kid. So it's like to me, like how do you allow that? Like it was literally a child. I have a lot of anger and rage that I use that pushes me to like want to tell my story and like want people to know like there's people that are literally abusing kids and doing and unethical things and like so it's just rage, I guess.
Rage
Yeah.
is a powerful, positive thing. It
Yeah.
can be.
Yeah.
That's great. I wanted to
Mm.
also ask you, like, so you were readopted, and like, how was that, like, living with like a different family?
I would not take it back only because I was adopted by very like pro-black, like very black family. And those were the years where like I really started understanding about my blackness and appreciating it. And those were the years where I started really deconstructing everything I was taught because I lived like in a house full of like I call them my cousins because they were like family, but it was a whole house full of just like black cousins and my hair. That was when the first time I started getting my hair done all the time. The first time I started washing black, like just everything was so different to me. And that was the first time I started being able to be me because I always lived in like a facade. Like I wasn't able to be who I really was. And I didn't even know who I was. No one was ever interested in like Ethiopian culture or anything. And they would always ask me about that. And I didn't know what to tell them because I'd forgotten everything, but they would pressure me to like learn more about it. They pressured me to find my family. When I told them, they helped me. I don't know how to explain it, but it was like a guardian angel watching me because to me that was like I had like the best case scenario. That's why they knew something wasn't going on with my when my friend would go home and cry and tell them like my friend, she's going through this, she's adopted by white people. They kind of knew like this isn't right, like something's going on. When I came, they were like, this kid isn't bad. Like I was a really good student. Like they didn't have to worry about me. Like, and it was crazy because I stayed in the same high school. In my freshman year, I was one of the worst kids in that school. Like not by on purpose, because I was going through so much. I was in and out of juvie. I was in the principal's office. I was in fights. I was da da da. And then I went and I lived with my black family, and they're strict. Like they're really strict. I can't do nothing. So I go back and my teachers are like, who is this student? Because I'm getting like good grades. I'm never in the principal's office, like no nothing. And they like were like, what is going on? It was really insane. And I had like the biggest turnaround, but it was really good. It was really good. So, but I'm lucky because that's not most people's case, honestly. So,